All right, everyone. Today on the Agency Excellence podcast, I'm hosting Sophie Chetniak. She's the founder of Makiar, a studio designing AR experiences for beauty brands, from virtual try-ons to next generation brand engagement. Sophie, welcome to the show today.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. Jumping straight into things, what has been the number one growth lever that has helped you grow and scale your studio, Makiar?
Yeah, so I guess let me start from the story of a downturn because that's usually how the biggest growth happens is when you realize you've been doing something wrong and finally the mistake becomes clear. So about a year ago, I realized that the studio in the way it was working wasn't quite getting me to my goals. It was one by one projects, and when the industry of technology shifts, you're very prone to the waves of this ocean hitting you sometimes. The way this happened for me is I started searching for solutions in a way that I could build the direction for my business that would allow not to only grow steadily and with confidence, but also give me personal sense of security, confidence, and joy from not only the products we were creating that always been bringing me joy, but also from the perspective of how the business structure looks. Realized at the time is that, say, if you have two target audiences and one product, you actually have two businesses. So in order to have one business that's aligned and is actually working effectively, you ideally want to have one target audience, one problem you're solving for them, one product, one way to generate leads, and one way to create sales. So where I was before, and what happens with technological service businesses, I think you are so often pulled into different directions by, oh, this is a new fun thing, and that's a trend we should jump onto. And that created complete chaos and sense of never getting to any real tangible big success because you're so torn and you're actually building, I don't know, maybe 10 20 businesses at the same time because you do not focus so nearly. And say if you just double one of those aspects of five, you are slowing yourself down by 4x because everything else for those is doubled. So if you have one audience but two products, then maybe it's a 3x slowdown. So once I saw that, okay, if I just focused on one thing and I got really good in serving for one product, like creating one product for one problem and knowing exactly the best ways to build around that, my life would be so much easier. And I felt that actually, like even if I didn't work a full work day, and even if I felt tired, I just knew that I was already 5, 10 times more productive than I was before in version 1.0. So that gave me a lot of freedom and sense of flying and sense of clarity where you should be going because through this systems and making real decisions, you're feeling that you're just in the right place. And also something I want to note on here, because on one side, specialization and hyper specialization is great, but I don't want to make it seem that you should be extremely narrow on everything. That's great for business strategy, but at the same time, what is also important from the expertise perspective is to be wider a little bit. And I want to give you an example because the reason is that you're not actually competing against your direct competitors most of the time. You often compete against all other possible solutions that are solving the same problem. It's not just about understanding your solution, how to make it the best on the market, but it's about knowing how it fits into a larger ecosystem. So let me give you an example. Say your client, so like a client comes and says, I have $20,000 and I want to upscale my beauty brand website. What do I do with it that I get the biggest impact? So let's start from the worst ideas to the best one. The first thing I wouldn't recommend is building a trendy initiative. Say something that's centered around your core strength would be the best idea. But working with something you just overheard was working for somebody else is not necessarily ideal. Say if your focus is on clean ingredients as a brand, you're better off doubling down on sustainability rather than creating a loyalty program, for example. Second, in the middle, A/B testing. I think that's a great idea, and optimization is always important, but this is the area where you can get easily lost in micro optimizations and lose the real impact by overfocus. And finally, my favorite is investing into megatrends, like, for example, personalization. So now, for example, universally, it's very important to create personalization that's expected from your brand as well. So I would say start simple with something that really proves the results to be strong, like virtual try-on, giving you 5 to 20x multiplier. And once that works, build on top of that so that you create cohesive customer journey with AI or quizzes or other optimizations. So that's how 20K can really move the needle, I think. And basically, this is an example of how you would do it in speaking with your clients, is understanding what are the other options in making the best of their resources and helping them see the real strategy behind one or the other, and how something that would really give a sustainable long-term investment, like it is for building your own business and making the right calls strategically.
Got it. That gives a lot of context to how you got to where you're at today. So thank you for sharing. And a couple things you pointed out there, multipliers, which my ears perked up by having personal try-on or some sort of personalized experience. Curious how other brands could leverage that, or how you see other companies leveraging that, whether it's brands or agencies.
Leveraging multipliers, such as focusing.
So you personalized a virtual try-on experience, right? That's the personalization that's happening for your clients, correct? Did I understand that properly?
Yeah, so basically how brands could optimize for personalization, virtual try-on is one of the solutions to build that. In terms of our brand as an agency, if that's a question, we do personalization differently. It's less mass scale because we work with a narrower amount of clients. So that would go down to creating custom designs and really understanding the problems of each brand we're working with. So that would be custom UI and really getting into understanding what design of the makeup really speaks the language of the brand, and not just copy pasting some pre-designed textures that would work for everyone. We don't believe that. If we work with high-end brands, we should deliver high-end service across all areas and touch points.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Sophie, you mentioned a few times in the conversation. So where do you see AI fitting into this as a tool for agencies and e-commerce brands or even teams?
Yeah, so I think AI can really have many use cases, but I think I would want to give a very simple, maybe a little dumb example, but the one that would actually work, and not just for brands, but I think for agencies as well. Let me start from the story here. Like about a month ago, I was meeting with my friend scientist, and I realized how scientists are alike with the great leaders, and how that was a revelation for me, because I realized that in their world, there's the same amount of uncertainty and endless testing. So, for example, if you take a beauty brand, and e-commerce manager there has a bit of a mad scientist mentality, I think this brand will be outperforming everybody else just by that mindset that allows them to sometimes make mistakes and build theories and prove them wrong. But the other question, right? How do you not go mad with building all of those tests? How do you not get lost in that? And that's where AI comes in. For example, you go to ChatGPT and you ask it, give me 50 solutions to this problem. I'm trying to improve this metric. What are the best ideas? Then you ask it, okay, great. Then now rank it by the effectiveness, the how fast I can do it, and by the resources I would need for it. And some of those scores, you'll have the clear winners. And just like that, with this clarity, you'll be much more ahead of everyone who is hesitating or random picking or just getting inspired and pulled into different directions.
Got it. That's powerful. That's something that somebody can apply actionably right away.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a brand. It could just be you with any goals in your life. This is what I love about it.
Got it. Okay. And Sophie, I'm curious about your business model. So you work with beauty brands, right? And you help them implement AR and experiences to their customer journey. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So right now we're focusing mostly on integrations into the websites. That in the day we worked mostly with social media. So right now we're more close in the process of the customer journey than we were before. But yeah, it's always a certain creative touch point that brands could implement into the brand experience.
Okay. So I'm curious, what does your client acquisition strategy look like? Are you partnering with agencies that have beauty brands, or are you partnering with the beauty brands directly? How do you think about client acquisition?
Yeah, so I think about it from the same focus perspective. You would want to always start with the lowest hanging fruit. So, as we are new in the space of virtual try on, the first things I've done is reach out to the companies I worked with before. Brands like Lashify and LYS became my first clients because obviously they knew me, they knew our quality of work, and they trusted us off the bat. So, that was the easiest thing in terms of gating the first clients. And we are directly working with brands. I've talked with agencies back in the day, and it often happens that maybe they're bringing us not the target brands we are really inspired to work with, or they're not super actively pushing our product, which is understandable. So I realized that it's always just best to rely on yourself and get really good at sales. And that is a part of business experience that I love so much. So I'm not afraid of challenges in that space, understanding how to best build those connections. So for the step two, once you have taken the easiest ways to build up your first cases, I would say it's personalization hyper focus. It's understanding which areas of the market would find your product most valuable, and understanding which people in those brands would be the number one contacts. And then really going all out on finding the language that speaks to them. And sometimes the conversations with clients really help so much with that. Like, for example, I was on a call with one of my for example, I was on a call with one of the potential clients, and the person is telling me it's going to be 5x ROI, or we're not even going to consider your solution. I'm like, yeah, that's fair enough. We're looking through the numbers, and a second in, the founder rushes in and she's, forget 5x, I want 20x and nothing less. And that was such a great turning moment for us, because it felt that, okay, that was way above the market average, but at the same time, that just felt right for setting our expectations and our clients' expectations at this bar. So even if we see our clients hitting 15x right now, we're pushing them further. We want to make sure we get that 20x. So we're coming in with creative ideas that are perfectly fit for them, in particular, new solutions that could really bring those numbers up. And just through that one conversation, I think we got to this next level of productivity, getting our virtual trend to be the most effective tool in the market, just because of client listening and getting inspired by that. So this type of things allow you to build the language that would serve you in communicating with those clients, potential clients. And then you want to also build a much more personal connection with them. It's not just about cold pitching nowadays. That worked really well back in the day. It was so easy to book the calls with the biggest brands in the world, not even having any portfolio. We used to do that, and that was easy. Nowadays, I don't really see that so simple. In the moment, it's really about finding where your resources are best put towards, and thinking of how can this relationship grow beyond cold pitching, and thinking how can you add value and create a surplus of value before you ask. And what I like about this approach to sales is that it looks like dating. And I think both girls and guys will understand from their own sides, is that when we do sales, like, I feel like we are so focused on, okay, I need to get to the next step. And if you think that somebody asks you to marry them on a first date, how would you react, even though they may be the perfect partner for you? So why would we treat people in professional setting the same way? So it just makes sense to build up that trust through giving, through allowing them to know you, and not giving the push at every single interaction with them. So it could be 1 to 4, 1 to 5 value versus ask interactions. And that's how you can approach it.
Got it. Yeah, that's a really interesting analogy. That makes things really interesting from the sales perspective, especially if you have the data to show that, to back that. That's awesome.
Something that helps for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then not jumping straight into like huge, massive projects, like more so feeling each other out, finding what works in the moment. It sounds, I'm curious about what sort of websites you can integrate into. What can you share about that?
Yeah, so our integrations right now mostly work on Shopify, specifically for the fact that it's the easiest one, and we'll start with that. So we're just focusing on Shopify at the moment, down the line, maybe more. But as it comes to Shopify, there is so much freedom around what we can do in building custom UIs. And that's really the greatest part. And I think something that really sets us apart from other virtual trend companies, because those companies came from a different world. Maybe they raise money and they want to scale. So the way they approach it is that how can we build the most best copy paste solution that we can create? In our case, we come from the agency perspective, where we are much more focused on individual client needs. And that translates in a way everything is done. With because companies going from offers that are very standardized and allowing you potentially to do some personalization, and in our personalization being the absolute base, and knowing what the brand needs and understanding precisely what UI would work for one product versus the other. How can we build up bigger baskets, meaning create upsells through bundling and through creating this perfect combinations within the virtual try-on, that it just makes sense to buy products together because it really looks beautiful and you don't see how it would work separately. You see how it works together. I think this really creates a lot of value and flexibility. Even though we're just working with Shopify, we want to get really good at Shopify integrations. And then as the market grows beyond that, yep, sure, we can expand. But right now, this is how I approach it.
Makes sense. It makes sense. And I think Shopify is like one of the biggest platforms and the biggest brands are on it. So it's just logically makes sense. I'm curious, Sophie, what does Makiar look like at its next level? What is the vision that you have for the next couple of years?
I think that is really good question. And I think it's building up every day. I was just looking into creating a post of mistakes around building virtual try-ons. And as I was looking through other solutions on the market, I realized that there were really so much improvement to be done. And I want to build the next standard for how virtual try-on is built, because I'm so surprised. Virtual try-on is not a new thing in the market. It's been a thing 5 years at least in a big way. And some of the older companies are started in 2004. So you would think that they will have all this time to build the quality product, especially knowing the speed of technology right now. But it still is surprising and shocking to me that how many brands are coming and saying we haven't found the right partner just yet because the way it looks is not up to our standard. So I think like just today, from understanding how far some of the solutions are from my personal standard and from the way my clients probably see it too, I really see that there is a huge potential, even though we are coming from a very personalized perspective, a niche boutique agency. I think the possibilities are quite large and really exciting for me.
I love that, especially with advancements in tech and AI that are helping keep the personalization, but also making so that you can do more things faster, more efficiently from a tech perspective, from even just like a coding perspective, right?
That I leave to my team. I'm saying I'm so lucky to not know how to code, because it's at least one thing I don't try to get involved into.
You're like dev team, take care of that.
Yeah, so that is something, optimizations on that front. We will see. For now, I haven't seen that really being something that really can optimize the process, because the quality is, I don't want to compromise on that. But from the perspective of improving the product, I've definitely been actively thinking about AI as additional way to streamline the journey, and how AI builds into virtual try-on experiences, and the AI agents and assistants that would allow you as a buyer to have a more narrowed down path in purchasing something from the website. Instead of going through the whole scroll on every possibility available, you would be in a direct conversation about your needs and desires, and something that really intuitively feels right for you as a person, as a personality, and somebody who looks the way you look, and crafting the shopping experience for every user with the right tone of voice, with the right style, and with the right way of showing products and not overwhelming you with possibilities, but rather inspiring, focusing on the things that really make you outstanding, not only from the color choice perspective, but also from the whole creative vision. Like the best Sephora makeup artist would do for you, but there are not that many great ones. So if we could really create the world where every advisor is the most perfect advisor for you, that would be super interesting. So there's still, I think, is a long way towards building that, but the long way could sometimes be shortened by innovations in AI. That is something I would not be able to give a very concrete timeline on, but it could be very close from 1 month to a few years, depending on how things go.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's exciting. Shifting gears a little bit, Sophie, what are the areas of life that you've had to master in order to achieve success in business?
It almost goes in reverse order for me. I love that moment when I met with a friend. There's some people you are good friends with, but you see them once in 2 years, maybe, just how the life is. And she meets me and she's like, wow, have you been working with a psychologist? You seem so self-aware. And I'm like, no, I just have my own business. You don't need a psychologist if you have a business, because what it does to you, it basically puts a mirror in front of your face every day, and every fail that happens is because of you, and every win that happens because of you. So that allows us to really have this immediate feedback on who we are as people and how we make decisions and what kind of philosophies we carry. So I think business really inspires that in me, rather than, oh, what kind of things I should tweak to get better in business, is that I know what kind of things I'm failing at the moment. And I have a very clear roadmap thanks to just the ocean you're swimming in by yourself.
There's a lot of large business entrepreneurs, very high level, and they always say your business is a reflection of your personal self. And so I think that points very well to your point where it's like if there's an area of the business there's probably something as a entrepreneur, as a founder, that we're not doing in order to pause that failure or something that we are doing. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. And regarding like more concrete things, because I feel like I glided over your question being very general in my answer, I think as it comes to its more specific qualities, it's decision making, its ability to say no. And I think this is something I'm still working on, because when you say no to something, it's you're saying actually yes to something else, something more important. And that's a really hard thing that translates through everything in life. Its ability to be very empathetic. And I think that's also extremely transferable, and across sales, across building teams, across even apathy towards yourself. And it's about knowing and that intuition around emotional intelligence and emotional situations, on how to best support my team member, how to best raise them up in where they are right now, and how to know when to build stronger boundaries if that's necessary. So I would recommend business to anybody in the world as a best life teacher.
I love that. Great words of advice from Sophie. This has been a conversation. Getting ready to wrap up here, Sophie. Where can people learn more about you, about anything you spoke about today, about Maki, or just about AR and virtual try-on in general?
I think the best ways to learn about us, it's our website, my LinkedIn. So Makiar Studio. And I guess regarding augmented reality, that's a really good question, because I feel like that topic has now been overshadowed by AI a little bit. So I feel like maybe even Discord channels and areas where AR artists are present, like communities of Snapchat and TikTok that are existing on Discord. If you're interested in diving into that space, I feel like if you just asked questions, so many people would be happy to support you there. I was really inspired by the level of support and desire to help each other in the whole AR community. So definitely welcome in if you're feeling like learning more about it. Joining the groups, I think, would be the best way to get started and find the first answers.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Chris. It has been a big pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.